Wanted to see how they fared in live action. And the unfortunate truth today is that Rashee Rice fared poorly. I don't know if it's focus, if it's concentration. The one, breaking over to the left side, we were talking in here for 10 minutes about like his hand placement. I think he's probably happy with where his hands ended up there, but it did not give him much margin for error. The drop touchdown, I think genuinely, going back and watching that replay several times, I think you could make an argument that it went directly between both of his hands and his face mask. It may have brushed both of his hands in his face. I don't think it hit his face mask, but it was like he was breathing on the ball as it went between his hands. And it wasn't a great ball by Gabbert. He certainly had to track it. And when he tracked it successfully, I was pre-celebrating of, oh, what a fun play this is going to be. This will be great. What a fun moment. Right through his hands, and all of a sudden, you worry that's the thing we're going to talk about for a while. Now, the funny thing, and I think the good thing in preseason analysis, as the world's gotten a little bit better about figuring out what does and doesn't matter, Jamar Chase having preseason drops was like an entire storyline, and then he became arguably the best receiver in football, if not clearly like a top 3 type of guy. Top 5? I don't know. The NFL has so many incredible young wide receivers, man. It's a blast. I love it. I am in no way like taking this game straight into, they're not going to trust Rashee Rice in week 1. But I do wonder a little bit about we didn't see Richie James. Dylan, you noted this. I know you're doing 1,000 things. You just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down if you can't remember. But did Richie James take a snap? He was in shoulder pads. He wasn't not suited up like Travis Kelce. We didn't see Richie James take a snap. I'm saying Dylan and I just both shook our heads. I don't think we saw him out there early on. Certainly not no meaningful action for him, and no meaningful action for Sky Moore. I mean, the guys who caught passes in this game were those guys fighting for the last couple of roster spots, and I will talk about receivers more in general as well, because I think there's an interesting thing going on there. Guys who caught passes today, okay, for the Chiefs. In order, Amir Smith-Marset hit 100. Good for him. Amir Smith-Marset, Lamichael Pirine, Ty Freifogel, Rashee Rice, Matt Bushman, Jerick McKinnon with 1, that early one in the game. Cornell Powell, Justin Ross with 2, Justin Watson with 1, Ty Scott, Deneric Prince, Isaiah Gaithings, Jerrion Ely, and then Blake Bell, Kendall Blanton, Noah Gray, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire all got targets but did not catch any passes. The only guy on that list who caught more than one pass, 2 guys on this list caught more than one pass, so I think are going to be on the roster. Justin Ross with 2, one being the red zone touchdown that we could have opened the show with if I was in a better mood. But we watched a very long preseason game, so maybe I came out grumpy. I don't feel grumpy. I'm just realizing I started with the negative, and that's not always fun. Justin Ross catches the touchdown, which is absolutely fantastic. Very happy about that. And Rashee Rice got 6 targets in this game. Tied for the lead in targets ahead of, Justin Ross, also with 6. 5 for Matt Bushman. This is getting reps for Rashee Rice, but I do wonder if Justin Ross isn't going to have to. I mean, look, last week we saw Justin Ross should have had a touchdown last week from Blaine Gabbert, and he just broke the wrong way. I don't know if he read the defense wrong, or if he freaked out in the moment, or if he didn't know where he was supposed to be, whatever. Blaine Gabbert threw him a touchdown ball. If he breaks outside instead of just straightening it out, and if he breaks to the right from there, he would have run into Rashee Rice last week. So I don't know what the trust level is for Justin Ross right now. And I really don't know what the trust level is for Rashee Rice. I think that he's getting work now to help get him up to speed for when the season arrives, that they do plan on using him in the offense early and often. But if the guys we saw tonight, Rice, Ross, certainly Cornell Powell and Smith-Marset, if we don't hear those guys' names called in week 1, I don't think you would have any right to be surprised by that. This is week 3 of the preseason, and I think Rice is still the guy that could be on either side of the line here. But we'll dive in more to the receivers because I want to unpack something Sam McDowell wrote about in the Kansas City Star this week that I think is really, really interesting. And a little production dance on air here. I do not see the order as things are popping up on my side here, Dylan. So you let me know what you see and when you see it. We'll dance around accordingly. But currently all quiet at the podium there at Arrowhead, Dylan.
It is quiet, and I have eyes on it as well.
Beautiful. So we will keep an eye on the podium there. We'll take you out for Pressers Live that we can get there later. We'll hear from Andy Reid. And if you want to call in, we can chat now. I also don't have a name on the phone line right now. I don't know if it's in the... You got to click out of a box. It's a whole thingy over there.
Covell wrote it into the phone number section, but it's George.
All right.
Overland Park.
I don't know. The phone number thing doesn't pop up over here. I don't know why. It's all right. I got it. The memory is going to work out just fine here, George. You're on the line here with us. You're on the Sports 3810 WHB postgame show. George, what's on your mind? What you taking away from Game 3 of the preseason?
Ye of little faith.
Hey, George. Good to hear from you, friend.
Welcome. And may I be the 8,042nd person to wish you your happy nuptials.
8,043rd, I think, by my count, but I appreciate it nonetheless.
Yep. Finally made an honest man out of you.
Finally. It took her long enough.
Yeah, now you can just quit gambling. You'll be fine.
One at a time.
We won't even go to the hooch.
Whoa.
All right, sir.
Hit me.
Have the Chiefs found a new, speaking of the draft tool in picking players with double and hyphenated names?
The nameplate department has gotten a workout in the equipment room recently, for sure.
You know, Edward Hilaire, Dave Duvernay, I can't even say that anymore.
LDT, LDT, baby, that's what we have.
Smith-Schuster,
yep.
And now we've got Smith-Marset.
Smith-Marset, Enudike Uzama. I mean, it is a lot of letters there.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
And you know, I was calling, you were going to talk about receivers as well, but Smith-Marset did some very nice things today.
Yes.
I like his enthusiasm.
Me too.
Because the thing for him that I noticed is how he acted after the play.
Mm-hmm. I saw that too.
He went right back to the sideline. He went right back to the huddle. He wanted to be with the team. He wasn't a receiver who said, "Hey, I got the ball."
Mm-hmm.
You know, to me that's encouraging, and I think that's coaching too. That's coaching from the college level to the pro. Hey, the old axiom, do it like you've been there.
Yep.
And bring your teammates with you is the point. I like it. I think it's a good sign. I don't like the third-year player making rookie mistakes. That penalty toward the end of the third quarter.
You have to refresh my memory on which one you're talking.
I don't even remember who he was now. But it was just a guy. They pointed him out in the TV broadcast that he was a third-year guy, and they called him on some hands.
Ah, okay. And
it was just no.
Yeah.
This is the third and fourth quarters where you make your roster spot, and the third year player should know better.
Yep, absolutely.
And last thing, number 22, is he trying to be a Mahomes lookalike with the hair and the bandana?
So here's the crazy thing. I am still getting used to that being Trent McDuffie now because last year, Juan Thornhill was 22. Haven't even mentioned his pick six. That was kind of fun. I mean, not good, but fun, right? But yeah, McDuffie's hair, I think, has continued to grow in volume as his play grows. I think by season 7, we're going to have a really special thing here.
Well, again, if you put him and Mahomes together, he can be the new Kelsey in commercials.
That also a great marketing campaign for Trent McDuffie. That's a good call, George.
Adios, amigo.
Appreciate it, man. Always good to hear from you. George has been calling in since almost entirely sports in the ESPN Kansas City days. George is a longtime listener of these dulcet tones, and apparently a man who may someday get better taste, but I don't know when that's going to happen because he's been listening for a real long time. If it's still all quiet on the Arrowhead front, here's my additional receiver thing. And actually, I'm going to talk about Amir Smith-Marset real quick because George mentioned him. I've mentioned him. 100-yard receiving day today. George says, hey, he looks like a good receiver. He looks like he belongs. He does. He will be, my take here, he will be a 53-man wide receiver somewhere next week. Probably not going to be on the Chiefs at this point. Could be a tradable asset, honestly. If you're a wide receiver needy team and you've seen Amir Smith-Marset this year, and if you've heard, all the people who've been out at training camp who have seen this is not a fluke for him, this isn't just him cooking the third-string defensive backs. He was a 5th-round pick in 2021, not that long ago. Spent some time with the Vikings, briefly with the Bears. Now he's here. And I absolutely think that he has proven his value as an NFL wide receiver. But the Chiefs are already talking about holding 7, and that does not include him. Let's dig into the wide receivers just a smidge here as we look ahead. The roster cut down's coming on Tuesday, and they could start tonight for the Chiefs. Because if you do it now, they hit waivers, but they won't actually be claimable until after all the cut down process. I think that's actually Wednesday. So there's still a chance to say you're going to be waiving someone and then trade them before that actually happens. That's my understanding from some of the other early cuts we saw happening earlier today. The Chiefs wide receiver room is certainly going to include, let me start with Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney has to make the first 53, even if he's placed on injured reserve, because if you want him to be placed on IR and to be able to return, you have to make the initial 53. If you, Najee Johnson and Jody Fortson, unfortunately, both of those guys, makes me so sad. I really like both of them a lot. Najee Johnson and Jody Fortson were placed on IR before the cut down, so their season is over. Just that way you can't sneak that in as a little roster manipulation. If you make the 53 and then are placed on IR, then you can be designated to return and to come back after you miss a minimum of 4 weeks. MVS, so even if Toney's not playing week 1, he has to be on the initial roster. MVS, Toney, Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, Justin Watson are 1,000% on the team. I haven't mentioned Richie James and Justin Ross just because I think they're the next cutoff. Maybe you could put Justin Watson in a little bit of a space of his own. He's just going to be on this team unless somebody wants to send the Chiefs a draft pick and thinks someone else could do it. I don't think they trust almost anyone else in the wide receiving room to do all the things they ask Watson to do. But that's 7 without Nico Remigio, who was briefly the next guy up, without Emir Smith-Marset, who I think has shown himself to be a worthy NFL wide receiver, without Cornell Powell, mid-round draft pick who has been on the practice squad, and he obviously his drop today was rough. Drop, hit, whatever. I think he got to catch that ball probably, but Ty Freifogel got hit late in this game. And hey, you know what? There's another pass catcher there. All right, it's kind of interesting. So who do the Chiefs keep, and how many receivers do the Chiefs actually keep? Sam McDowell, Kansas City Star. I think it's up Friday morning, maybe. I'm going to read you a chunk of what Sam did to break all this down. The Chiefs rarely get much offensive production out of their 5th wideout, let alone the 6th. In 2020, the most recent year the Chiefs held on to 6, Marcus Kemp was that 6th man. He finished the season with 1 catch for 11 yards in 11 games. Played a lot of special teams. That's obviously a part of it. But as a receiver, didn't do much. Back to Sam. In 2018, when quarterback Patrick Mahomes topped 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, only 4 receivers on the roster topped 35 offensive snaps for the entire season. The 5th receiver, DeAnthony Thomas, averaged only 2 offensive snaps per game. He had the 5th most receptions among wideouts, and he had 3. 5th place, 3 catches. I'm going to reiterate, 4 receivers in 2018 top 35 total offensive snaps. Here's a few more year by year for McDowell. And we're not talking about just number of pass catchers, right? But wide receivers, because the Chiefs have a deep tight end group with the greatest ever at the top of it. In 2017, 6th man Jehu Chesson had 2 catches, and the 5th on the list, Chris Conley, had just 11. In 2016, DeMarcus Robinson had 5 offensive snaps all season as the 6th option, and DeAnthony Thomas had 7 catches as the 5th. In 2015, Frankie Hammond Jr., 6th, finished the season with just 6 snaps on offense, and Jason Avant, remember that? 5th, had 15 catches, all still fewer than 1 per game. In 2013, Chad Hall caught 2 passes for the season, and A.J. Jenkins had 8. They were number 5 and 6. So in 6 seasons, their number 6 options have combined for 7 catches. If your eyes glossed over anywhere in there, that's the sentence from this piece from McDowell that made me go, whew, well, I'm going to read it again. In 6 seasons, the Chiefs' number 6 options have combined for 7 catches. The Chiefs don't need 6 receivers. They're probably going to have to keep 7. And I think there are at least 8 NFL caliber wide receivers on this roster. And they never even use their 6th offensively. It's why I said, like, the first week of training camp, hey, I saw Justin Ross down a punt, and that's huge because it means he's playing special teams, which means he has a path to make this roster that's not just be a starting caliber wide receiver, which is a very hard thing to do. For the rest of this group, I wonder, but the Chiefs are going to have to sacrifice at least one roster spot for long-term development because you're not going to get Justin Ross or certainly Rashee Rice or those guys, and I don't think at this point Smith-Marset. You're not going to get those guys to the practice squad to develop down there. You're going to have to be on your active roster even if you're mostly leaning on MVS, Tony, Sky Moore, Justin Watson, Richie James, and then we'll see about Rashee Rice. It's just really interesting that most of these routes will be run by 5 guys. So, an interesting position to be in to be sure, but where the Chiefs stand now and something to sort through as the cut downs approach. Let's go to the phones real quick and hear from Dan. Dan, you're on Sports Radio 810 WHB. What's up, Dan? How you doing?
Hey, Joshua. How you doing? I'm doing pretty good. It was a little shaky at times. Hey, it's preseason, and Smith-Marset looks pretty good, and Prince looks pretty good on the ground. And yeah, I just got through seeing the Seahawks-Packers game, and we'll watch the Jets-Giants game. And what do you think of Aaron Rodgers' first game? And Jets' offensive line's kind of shaky. Joshua, what are your thoughts about that? And the stuff on Diggs pounding again, slamming his helmet down. I don't know what's going on with stuff on Diggs. I think he misses Brian Dable. I don't know what his relationship is with Ken Dorsey. So let's get ready for the line. So tell yourself, Joshua.
Dan, always good to hear from you, my friend. Good to have you back in the mix. About the rest of the league there, the Jets' offensive line being a mess is going to be the one thing that could derail their season in a way that is just like untenable, which is going to be a fascinating thing to watch. With the Bills and Stephon Diggs, there have been some rumors and some reports that it's been coaching related. I think it was his former receivers coach who he really liked that's not there anymore. But a super weird vibe going on around Buffalo. And now you're talking about like 2 AFC East teams there. Meanwhile, the Dolphins have to figure out where they're at, and the Patriots are a mess. A nice reminder that you look around the rest of the NFL right now, and you find teams with bigger questions than wide receiver 6. And that's a good thing to keep in mind when you're talking about the reigning Super Bowl champions figuring out where they land. Dylan, I'm going to ask you real quick for your editorial opinion. By the way things are moving back there right now, do we have time to sneak in a quick commercial break before we come back and hear from, I imagine, Shane Buechele?
I believe we do.
Let's go ahead and risk it a little bit. It's the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show. It's presented by Central Bank of the Midwest. At Central Bank of the Midwest, every customer is a first-round draft pick. Central Bank of the Midwest, strong roots, endless possibilities. Member FDIC. We'll take a timeout, come back and hear from the Chiefs live from Arrowhead on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show.
Kansas City's favorite sports station, 20 years and counting. Sports Radio 810 WHB, Kansas City.
Celebrate the kickoff to football with Hollywood Casino at Kansas Speedway. On August 26th from 5 to 8:30 p.m., 5 winners every half hour will receive $250 in pin bonus play and $45 in Rally House gift cards. At 9 p.m., 5 winners will be drawn, with 4 winners receiving up to $1,000 in pin bonus play, up to $800 in Rally House gift cards, and 1 winner will receive 2 suite tickets and 1 parking pass for the September 24th Kansas City game and a $1,000 Rally House gift card.
Performance Food Service in Lee Summit is growing and looking for energetic, reliable, and hardworking individuals to join their warehouse and transportation teams. A leader in serving Kansas City, they are responsible for ensuring their customers get the products they order on time and in perfect condition. Drivers are home nightly, make up to $90,000 annually, and work a 4-day work week with most routes local within the Kansas City area. Benefits offered on day 1. Go to pfgc.com/careers. Search Lee Summit Mo for more information on their job postings at Performance Food Service. If you are driven to succeed, come drive for Performance Food Service.
Join us for steak night at Rye Restaurants. Every Sunday at Rye Plaza and Monday at Rye Leawood, they feature a 3-course menu with choice of salad, steak or chop, side, and a slice of the award-winning pie. Take a night off from cooking and enjoy some of Rye's most delicious offerings for just $50 per person. Rye Restaurants. Local, family-owned, chef-inspired Midwestern comfort food. RyeKC.com.
Hey, does summertime mean more outside activity for you? Walking, biking, golfing, gardening, or anything to soak up the sunshine and fresh air. Sounds great to me, but all this activity means your body needs to be at peak performance plus some extra recovery time. The practitioners at Stretch Zone can keep your body moving and recovering at top levels with their specialized stretching techniques. Check out one of the 5, soon-to-be 6 locations in Kansas City at StretchZone.com.
Ruback Fine Jewelry is moving locations after 32 years, and they're moving to downtown Overland Park in October. Lab-grown diamonds, natural diamonds, colored stones, necklaces, rings, everything from their current location must go, and prices will be amazing. The sale goes from August 21st through September 16th at their current location on West 95th Street inside the U.S. Bank building. Ruback's where I got my wife's ring, it's where I got my ring, and I could not be happier with the entire process. Learn more at ruback.co.
City Rented Truck just geared up for the upcoming season with a massive shipment of the toughest pickups, flatbeds, and dump trucks on the market. We expect these vehicles to be put to work on the roughest of job sites all over the United States. And as a part of our work-ready, on-demand promise, we refuse to charge for regular wear and tear. We will also deliver the truck straight to your job site so you can put all of your focus on the project at hand. Get an online quote at cityrentedtruck.com if you need work-ready trucks for your next commercial project.
Welcome back into the Sports Radio 810 WHB post-game show. It's brought to you in part by Greenlight Dispensary. Greenlight Dispensary, outstanding customer service, superior product, and continuously voted Missouri's best. Open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. You can find a location near you today at greenlightdispensary.com. We'll hop out to Arrowhead momentarily. I imagine we'll hear from probably Shane Buechele at the podium. Although maybe we get Blaine Gabbert today. Buechele talked following the Chiefs' last practice before the preseason finale. Obviously, he got the start today, so it makes sense. We've just heard from him quite a bit, and we have not heard much from Gabbert as that quarterback competition has seemed to ramp up a little bit. But we'll keep an ear to the ground there. We'll hear from Andy Reid later on and see how many Chiefs end up at the podium as we roll on here today. I've unpacked the receiver thing. But again, we'll hear from Andy Reid later. But apparently, the Chiefs are dealing with Kadarius Toney, quote, day by day, not day to day, which is slightly different than the way that Eric Berry was handled, I suppose. But it's not a phrase I'm terribly confident in getting. So I just got a throat slash motion. Talk to me, Dylan. Talk to everybody.
I think we're done.
You think we're done?
I think that's it.
You think we're done?
I think Andy was it.
You think...
I've lost live feeds on both of them that I was looking at, and I think it's over.
Now, Dylan, I trust you. I respect your expertise and you knowing what to look for.
You know I'm a man of integrity.
I know you're a man of integrity. I just want to clarify that...
Please do, because I am concerned of my
I just want to clarify
conviction as well.
That what you have seen is that in the only preseason home game the Chiefs had, week 3, a finale, a game that went for 3.5 American hours. You're telling me the Chiefs walked Andy Reid up to the podium, made him talk for 6 minutes, and then said, we'll see y'all at Burrowhead? Is that what happened?
So.
I mean, look, I didn't think we needed to hear from Buechele, I guess. But I would like to hear from Amir Smith-Marset, damn it. He had 100 yards. Maybe the we'll talk to Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest later, and so maybe since it is a home game, maybe the logic is that some of the reporters and everybody who's out there now, maybe they'll get a little locker room action. And so maybe we'll talk to Matt Derrick in a little while about getting to chat with Blaine Gabbert or Amir Smith-Marset or something. But I just thought for sure we were going to bring you some audio live from Arrowhead. And I guess we won't. So, okay. Well, we'll bring you Andy Reid in a little bit. We can do some rosterology, I suppose, to take a phrase from Matt Derrick. I actually do have a few other things, some guys who made some plays in this game, and maybe the places where some things could have changed today. We should talk about the running backs again. And I think there's an update for every single running back on the depth chart today, like from what happened in the game today, that is genuinely interesting. I think the running back room has a lot of the same questions and answers as the wide receiving room does, but we talk about it less because we know who the star of it is. We know Isaiah Pacheco is RB1. We don't really know who wide receiver one's going to be for this team. You know, it could absolutely be Sky Moore. The reports were that the Chiefs were expecting Kadarius Toney to be that guy. Then he didn't practice all offseason, and not all offseason, but all training camp. And so I don't know about that. We'll figure it out. We'll see how it shakes. But the running back room, the biggest question is answered. The rest of the group, I'm going to see if I can say this. I'm workshopping this take right now live on air. It's preseason. Workshopping this take. I think the Chiefs' running back depth chart might be the most misunderstood position group on the Chiefs. I think that's probably true. I'll at least explain my logic, and then we can all decide if my take was valid or not. Isaiah Pacheco, who did get, a carry today? Couple carries? A carry. 1 carry, 0 yards. We debated, will he get a touch? He got exactly 1. I don't know how many snaps he was out there for. He got 1 touch, popped up with his usual violence after being tackled for no gain. All right, Isaiah Pacheco's out there. His shoulder has taken a hit. But that was the first time we've seen him get hit at all since the Super Bowl. Yellow jersey in training camp. Don't know exactly what the extent of it's been in practice behind closed doors, but obviously they're not hitting and tackling to the ground. So that's real action there for Pacheco, which is a great sign because now I imagine he'll be good to go for the Lions. But also, I don't want to assume he's going to have 20 carries against the Lions. I don't know how many times he had 20 carries last year. Can you look that up, Dylan? Can you see how many times Isaiah Pacheco had 20 carries last year? I have no idea. If what that is going to end up landing at. I'm guessing it's a small number, if not 0. I don't know that he ever carried the ball 20 times. He might have once or twice. Point being, I don't know that it's smart to say he's ready for his full workload, just because I don't know how a surgically repaired shoulder works for an NFL running back if getting hit 20 times, and take pass pro into account and his catching into account as well. I don't know how many times falling to the ground or trying to pick up a blitzing linebacker or trying to run through a Mike linebacker. I don't know how many times you want to take that beating on a running back voluntarily. We know how physically taxing that position is. I don't think it's unreasonable to think they might want to lessen the load on Pacheco a little bit, especially early in the year, because you want him to be healthy down the stretch. What's the result for last year, Dylan?
So over 20, he went once against the Rams. He went 22 carries.
What was the final score? Was that the Bryce Perkins game?
Yes.
Okay. Ugly, messy football, close game, but
correct.
They just handed it off and he was successful.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And he went over 10 rushing attempts 9 times. So
okay,
and into the teens, so 13 minimum.
Okay.
Not like a bunch of 11s and 12s.
But he usually is carrying the ball in the teens range, and that's where he should be. I think if you let me pick, I think I might say like 14 or 15 carries for Pacheco. Maybe it's 15 to 20 total touches, something like that. That's great. Would not surprise me to see those be lower numbers for him early in the year. Who else is that true for, though, in that running back room? We saw Jerick McKinnon do some Jerick McKinnon things today, looking like Jerick McKinnon. But it would be silly to assume that Jerick McKinnon is going to be RB1 in week 1, getting a workload or anything like that, because the Chiefs need Jerick McKinnon healthy in December. A lot more than they need him on the field in September. These are great problems to have. But we're beginning to shave down the group here, okay? Deneric Prince was like the guy Louis Riddick tweeted about early in the preseason. Deneric Prince is the Isaiah Pacheco version 2 that as camp went on, you heard less and less of that noise. As games were played, you saw him pop a little less and less. I think right now Deneric Prince is going to be an undrafted free agent who we know the name of because he did some interesting things throughout this preseason, throughout training camp. But the Chiefs should probably be able to sneak him to the practice squad. And then if you need to call up a running back for an injury issue early in the season, he's your guy. No shame in that. Nothing wrong with that. Hard position. Get your contributors where you can. Kind of feels like he has not shown that he's ready to take, again, specifically think about the role that I'm carving out here and the way I'm bringing you from point A to point B. I don't think Deneric Prince has shown that he is ready to show up in week 1 against the Lions and have 8 carries and one of those rail routes that Jerick McKinnon was talking about. His nickname is Rail. He's apologized to his family. Or was it the Rail? I think it was 2 words. Might have been the Rail.
I think it was the rail.
The Rail.
I think that's what they had said.
Okay, very good. That makes sense, actually, because the first time I thought he said Darrell. And I was like, so is he getting Darrell Williams' nickname? Is it Deneric Prince now Dirty? No, he's the Rail. Darrell. I like that. But I don't think at this point it would be reasonable to say he's ready for the workload in a preseason, in a regular season game week 1. Give him some time. Michael P. Ryan has shown, with a little more NFL experience, and spending last year on the practice squad for the Chiefs in the postseason. They signed him to the practice squad in January. P. Ryan has looked good to me. These last 2 weeks in particular, I think he has looked like the more, oh bleep, we need running back work in week 1. P. Ryan has looked like the guy, more so than Prince, who's a little bit more ready for that action right now. But there's one name I haven't mentioned who everyone has a strong opinion on at this point. And it's just a very funny way for this career arc to have gone. Knowing where I was mentally, emotionally, spiritually in April of 2020. Because the Chiefs used a first-round draft pick on a running back, a pick that never should have happened. But now we're here today, and I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is probably one of the least liked players amongst Chiefs fans on the team. And I get it. It's frustrating to watch at times. He's getting, somebody tweeted, I don't remember who it was. It might have been McDowell again. But somebody tweeted, like, the Chiefs have 8 NFL wide receivers on this roster, and the first play of the game is a pass to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Perfect. But he keeps getting the early work in these games. And he's not getting work late enough in the games for me to think this is like a showcasing of the rest of the league preseason trade market kind of thing, which I think is still on the table for Shane Buechele, even though today may have hurt that cause more than it helped it. Clyde has played early and then, by and large, gotten out of these games. I think we have plenty of reason to believe that Andy Reid looks at Clyde Edwards-Helaire and sees a guy who's going to be in position, who knows the play, who knows where to be, and is probably going to achieve more or less exactly what's there for him. He is not going to take a seam that wouldn't be there for other running backs, squeeze through, and then turn on the afterburners. Not in his game. If there is a pass rusher who gets through who is not supposed to be his responsibility, he's not going to pick it up. If there's a pile he has to fight through on the goal line, he'll get it if it's blocked for him, probably. But Justin Watson's 100% making this team. Justin Watson's going to be in position. He's going to take what's there. He's going to make Andy Reid happy because of it. Now, that's like complimentary route running kind of stuff that all intertwines. It's a little different than like a running back. But right now, I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if he starts week 1. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if he outworks Isaiah Pacheco in week 1. I think I would lean towards Pacheco starts, and then those guys are pretty close to 50-50 split, with McKinnon getting his own share in there. And maybe P. Ryan's a healthy scratch week 1. I'm not sure. We'll see. Maybe he doesn't make the roster. Maybe P. Ryan and Prince, they cut them both loose. Ely also, and say, hey, we're going to get between ignore my beeping. Sorry, that's my diabetes beeping. It's okay. I'm fine. Between Prince, P. Ryan, and Ely, maybe they say, hey, guys, we just don't have the spot for it. We're going to cut all 3 of you loose. We're going to get 2 of you on our practice squad if we're able to. And if that's the case, you've now saved yourself a roster spot. You have your call-up in case of emergency depth ready to go, and you're not healthy scratching a running back every week like you were when Ronald Jones was your healthy scratch. Maybe they just carry all 4 and say, hey, we're going to have a healthy scratch running back, and that's fine because we think P. Ryan's worth keeping on the roster. I can see that one going either way. But as Pacheco works up to a full workload, and I totally on the table that Pacheco looks like Isaiah Pacheco in week 1 and the Chiefs are good to go. They've handled it very cautiously, so I am affording them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that things will continue a little bit cautiously. But maybe they've been handling it cautiously because they're going to rip the cover off and set him loose in week 1. Maybe I'll have 25 carries for 180 yards. I don't know. I would take it. But it would not surprise me at all if it's a Pacheco-Clyde sort of split, in addition to McKinnon getting the amount of work the Chiefs want him to get early in the season, which is catch some passes, block some dudes. We need you healthy in December, though, so we're going to try to make this a good mix. I think this is going to be a running back by committee group, at least early on this season, and then maybe it solidifies more into a 1-2 Pacheco-McKinnon punch down the stretch. That's kind of where I'm at now, but I think by the order of operations, that means Clyde Edwards-Helaire could briefly look like this team's number 1 running back at the beginning of the season. I don't think it's going to go quite that far. But with the goal being healthy and explosive Pacheco and McKinnon in December, January, and February, you need other guys to get that work now. Clyde can do that. The Chiefs have shown that they've trusted him to do that many times. And I think that Michael P. Ryan can do some of that. So it's a really interesting group because most people just don't want to see Clyde anymore. And again, I get it. My opinion on him has not changed since they drafted him. My opinion on him has been pretty much the exact same since early April of 2020. And I feel like the entire world has shifted around me, and I'm just standing in the exact same place now. And where I was a hater 3 years ago, now I'm a
prophet.
I'm a prophet, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I'm at least trying to get a stay of execution. Like I'm at least trying to put out some of the torches in the mob right now. Put the pitchforks down, guys. He's fine. He was fine when they spent a first-round pick on him. He's fine now. He's been a part of some incredible highlights, being on the receiving end of passes from Patrick Mahomes. There's some value there. Put the pitchforks down. Should have picked. I mean, I'm still holding mine, but it was from April of 2020. At this point, it's an antique for a bygone era. It's interesting, but that's just our capability to talk about receivers and running backs in similar ways and at great length right now, which is, once again, as we mentioned when George called earlier and was talking about the Jets O-line, and when Dan called in earlier talking about the Jets O-line and and Stephon Diggs and all of that. The best part of this preseason is that the number 1, well, maybe number 2, the top 2 concerns were both in the trenches, I think. Will the tackles be an upgrade, or will they at least be stable? Is Donovan Smith going to be able to put together a better season this year? And then what's the pass rush going to look like? Well, we're not even talking about the tackles anymore. That just seems like we are good to go, which is fantastic. The defensive trenches. I didn't think we'd be doing this post-game show and talking about wondering when Chris Jones was going to report. I did not think that was where we were going to end. And we have end is not even correct. I didn't think we would get here. I really don't know what's happening next. I'm really not sure. Let's go to a couple other position groups here, and then again, we'll hear from Andy Reid later on. We'll talk to Matt Derrick when he's done working from that special couch in Arrowhead that has become such a quintessential part of this postgame show. The drops were the biggest thing, both from Rashee Rice and on the pick sixes. Juan Thornhill having the pick six, hitting the chop briefly, and then going up with like the heart hands was maybe the best return home little celebration thing I've ever seen. Because it wasn't like a sarcastic, bleep you guys kind of thing. It was like, hey, what's up, Chiefs? Here's me now. I play for this team now. All love, whatever. That was kind of fun. He was back for the ring ceremony and everything. So it seems like that relationship is still pretty cool. Special teams are bad all day. I mean, just across the board, bad special team stuff. Penalties and Dave Tobe looking pissed on the sidelines. The broadcast lingering on the solo shot of Dave Tobe, I believe on multiple occasions. That's concerning because the special teamers are, you want to know who your special teamers are by now. Obviously the cutdowns will change some things, but I would like for Dave Tobe to at least feel like that unit's coming together. Justin Reed getting a little emergency kicker rep also. It's kind of fun. In terms of the stuff outside of the receivers and the running backs, though, I mentioned this at the very top of the show. It is hard to gauge what matters, what's real when one team is playing starters, when you're playing backups. And we can talk about the quarterbacks again if we want. Shane Buechele was getting pressured constantly, it felt like, behind the second-team offensive line with a lot of the Browns starters still in there. Later in the game, Gabbert looked much more comfortable in the pocket, but the talent pool had more or less evened out. I may be proven a fool on this on Tuesday, but I have not wavered on, I think Blaine Gabbert is going to be the active backup quarterback against the Lions. I do think there's been at least an element of, let us put Shane Buechele out here and see if anybody around the league wants to call and ask us any questions about what kind of draft pick it might take to get this guy. I think there's a little something to the Kevin Kolb protocol. But even if it's just been an honest competition, just say they really have been close at times. I still maintain at this point that I would have Blaine Gabbert QB2. And if the Shane Buechele path is to continue developing him, or maybe he gets out there in some more preseason action next year, and you really start putting on the, hey, Shane Buechele available for your services, whoever Eric Bieniemy is the coach of next year, or just wherever he's coaching next year. I'm just worried about Washington. It seems like it could be a mess. I don't know. I think there's something to that. But the main thing, and this is why I lead with like the offensive line and the level of competition, the talent on the field, you've got to include that in the conversation, because I think, to me, and Dylan, holler if you've got a different takeaway or a part of this in the quarterback convo. But to me, the thing that stood out the most from Shane Buechele to Blaine Gabbert is that Gabbert seemed a lot more comfortable in the pocket. Buechele felt a little sped up. There's a lot of spinning, a lot of pirouetting. Some of that was design stuff, little play action kind of motions or play fake motion stuff. Especially early on, I think that was the first or second series where there was a lot of like turning your back to the defense and stuff like that Buechele was doing that made everything look a little more hectic. And Gabbert may have just strictly had more time when he was back there. So I don't know that this is a fair evaluation. But when Blaine Gabbert drops back, for better and for worse, I have a little more of a feeling of, all right, this football is going to go somewhere responsible. If Justin Ross is in the right spot, it might be a touchdown. But he knows where everything's happening here. And Shane Buechele has a trait that for years I really wanted in developmental backup quarterbacks, with just a little bit of crazy. Just a little bit of gunpowder in that arm.
Little Uncle Rico in him.
Just a little Uncle Rico. Because here's the thing. Uncle Rico might have delivered a better deep ball to Rashee Rice when he dropped that than Blaine Gabbert did. That felt like Grandpa Rico a little bit. You know, we're even this. Shane Buechele's got a little bit of that gunpowder in that arm, which means sometimes you see the worst decision made of all time, and sometimes you go, oh man, that's a starter somewhere. I think I'll take Gabbert in the emergency role, but I completely understand why that would be super alluring as a developmental trait for Shane Buechele. So that's still why I end up with Gabbert 2, Buechele 3, and both of them making the roster. That's where I stand now. We'll see when Tuesday comes around.
That's where I stand too. I think that Buechele's got a little Heineke in him, a little, just a little
like
gunslinger, like you say, but just a backup version of a Brett Favre almost. Like, I also think that you can fall on either side of the fence that you want to fall on with the performance he had today, because you could also say that, hey, their ones are going against our twos on that front, but also there's missed blitz pickups as well.
That's right.
J-O-A, I think I want to say. I'm not going to even try and pronounce his name, but he's like a safety for the Browns, basically a box safety, and he came right up on the line, and Buechele just snapped the ball. No hard count, no nothing really to switch protection. So you can kind of fall on either side of the fence, and I think that you're right, and I agree that it's safer to go with Gabbert, but I really think they want to keep Buechele somehow.
And look, with that third quarterback rule about being able to activate the third guy even as a healthy scratch on your initial grouping, something we've never talked about on the zone, that's never been a conversation topic with anyone, including Matt Derrick, who we'll talk to later. But with that rule in mind, it does incentivize keeping a third quarterback. And yeah, and I get it. And maybe you get just a little bit more of that sharp edge off of Buechele, to where it's not such a double-edged sword. It's just a one-edged sword where he can just swing forward, just hack, just take away the double-edged sword, give him an axe. Give Shane Buechele an axe, and I'm happy. But take that out of context. But until you reach that point, and really, here's the other thing, and this is like another part of the loving, thoughtful conversation Jason and Matt had last Friday. Not this most recent one, but a week ago.
Friendly disagreement.
Were they even disagreeing? It was hard. It was hard to tell.
It was a discussion.
They were just having a nice, animated discussion.
Debate.
A nice debate. If I'm Andy Reid and I have a game without Patrick Mahomes, or a half without Patrick Mahomes, or a series without Patrick Mahomes, it's time for the blame game, baby. But go ahead. This is let your vet hop in here and try to put out some fires. I'm gonna knock on wood. I'm going to throw some salt over my shoulder. This isn't a thing that's going to happen. I don't believe in this. But if you need to get through the remainder of a season without Patrick Mahomes, if you're gonna have to have a Matt Castle, I'd rather watch Shane Buechele start 15 games, I guess.
I'll agree with you. Absolutely.
More fun, more interesting.
Way more fun and interesting. Because we've seen a full season of Gabbert. So
yeah. We haven't seen a full season of Gabbert with Andy Reid.
Exactly. That's true.
So look. Deep in my soul, I think I do believe that the Chiefs would win the AFC West with Blaine Gabbert is like starting 10 games. I don't know if they would win with starting 17. I think they probably would not.
No, you need a head start.
But I genuinely am kind of buying into the Chargers once again. I know, fool me 14 times, shame on me. But I kind of buy the Chargers, and Mahomes is the answer to so many Chiefs questions. Like, are you worried about the Chiefs' pass rush? Are you worried about the Chiefs' pass catchers? Are you worried about the Chiefs' offensive line? Are you worried about your finances? And I'll just go, well, Mahomes. Mahomes. And we will hopefully never have to figure out any of these hypotheticals. But I do think it can be the conversation they're having at Arrowhead on Tuesday, or starting now. They've certainly been having every day since camp kicked off. I'm down to see where the Buechele experiment goes, but I'd rather put a game in the hands of Blaine Gabbert. If that is what the Chiefs are thinking right now, I think that makes a lot of sense. Mentioning like the blitz ID stuff too, Dylan, was interesting. That was that pass where there was a free rusher straight into Buechele's face, where he puts both arms up and I think he deflected it with his hands. He might have deflected it with his junk. He was on top of it.
He could have blocked a punt.
Yes, absolutely, easily. He could have eaten a punt. He could have taken his face mask off and bit that ball in half and deflated it.
Taken the hand off if there was a exchange.
Then, with that in mind, a couple drives later, and Trent Green called this out on the broadcast, which is how I even thought to make this note in real time. Blaine Gabbert comes in. This is his first drive, actually, I think. Yeah, it was. 3rd and 8. The blitz is coming, but Trent Green says Gabbert changes the protection, seeing that pressure on 3rd and 7. And you're never going to hear about it ever again. But Blaine Gabbert threw a touchdown. He threw a bomb. A touchdown to a wide-open Rashee Rice, who just happened to drop it. Now, if we're getting all of the right intel on all of this, if Trent Green's right, who I tend to trust about quarterback play, and if Dylan's right, who I trust even more when it comes to quarterback play, you have 2 great examples there of one play that probably should have been a turnover and one play that should have been a touchdown that, in theory, was really decided by which of them realized that there was a blitz coming. Which one of them realized there was a protection adjustment that needed to happen. Now, again, we don't know for sure. That could have been one where Buechele was supposed to let that free rusher come and try to get it over his outstretched arms, and he just got there way too quickly. Maybe Buechele just needed to speed that process up. Maybe he did everything fine and there's a miscommunication on the offensive line. Maybe somebody, I've not gotten to rewatch that blitz over and over. But maybe it wasn't actually on Buechele. Maybe it was somebody else's blown assignment. Maybe it was something Buechele wasn't, whatever. But that would be a really fascinating, I'll have to go back and look at that again before we have the zone on Monday. I'll try to get to the bottom of that. But it's a really interesting, small example of a place where a quarterback who's been back there for a decade might be able to make an adjustment before the snap that turns one play into a touchdown because he has time to develop and that he would have the protection. And one quarterback who had a play that I don't know how it was going to work initially, but it probably should have turned into a turnover. Just another way we can take a look at this that's not just the biggest highlight plays or the biggest disaster classes from either of these guys. It's interesting, and we have plenty of things to continue discussing. We'll take a break, come back and hear from Andy Reid on the Sports Radio 810 WHB postgame show, brought to you by Schlegel Fence. When you need a fence, call Schlegel Fence. Schlegel Fence installs it all, wood to ornament steel to vinyl. No job is too large, and it'll look great too. Visit them online at schlegelfence.com. Joshua Briscoe, Dylan Michaels, Covell Hudson, Andy Reid going to be next in the Sports Radio 810 WHB postgame show.
WHB Kansas City.
Looking for that perfect gift for that hard-to-shop-for friend or family member? Do what I do. Send the gift of competition, Kansas City barbecue, and let Joe's Kansas City deliver the gift that will stand out from all the rest. I'm talking about Joe's ribs, burn ends, and even the famous Z-Man. Can all be sent anywhere in the United States. Choose from their pre-selected kits or go ahead and build your own. Then let Joe's handle the rest. Check out all their smoked meats, wonderful side dishes, and even desserts. They're online right now at joeskc.com. That's joeskc.com.
Hi, I'm Fred Ramsey. And I'm Mark Tobin. Hey, folks, if you're not busy Saturday mornings from 6 to 7 a.m., well, I hope you'll join us for the Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet of St. Joe.
Join us and our expert guests, and we'll be talking about hunting and fishing, dog training. We'll give you tips, pass along stories, and most important, share some laughs along the way.
That's right. We cover it all, from crappie to waterfowl, and we'll tell you how to cook it, too.
The Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet, Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Sports Radio 810 is proud to be Kansas City's home for the National Football League.
65-yard punt return. Kadarius Toney.
From Monday night to Sunday night and every game in between. Keep it right here on your exclusive home for the NFL, the NFL playoffs, and the Super Bowl.
It's over. The Chiefs have won. The Chiefs have won Super Bowl 57.
Sports Radio 810 WHB. When you want Chiefs, follow the leader. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You got to take what Pat does and kind of put a little bit to your game and also let him do what he does because he's the best in the league at what he does. Definitely his leadership style. I think that gets kind of caught up in all the behind-the-back passes and deep throws, scramble drills. The way he leads a football team is special.
Your home for the NFL. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You've waited all year, and the time has finally arrived. College football is back, and so are the traditions, the tailgates, and the great offers from DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can score $200 in bonus bets instantly when they bet just $5 on any college football bet. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. You can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you're ready. Anything can happen in college football. Your team can go from unranked to dynasty mode in just a couple years. Kick off the season with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now and use code 810WHB. New customers can score $200 in bonus bets instantly when they bet just $5 on any college football bet. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code 810WHB.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Kansas. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort.
Gabbert. Gonna check it down. P-Ryan makes the catch. Makes two guys miss. P-Ryan still on his feet. He'll take it for 6. Touchdown, Chiefs.
Also 3. und 15 auf jeden Fall. Wieder das Money Down. Gibt's nur... Oh, von da wird's schwer. Nee, das... Oh, warte mal, geht auf der Basis. Der P-Ryan tackles und rennt in die Endzone. Hör mir auf. Boah, und jetzt darf nur nicht der Horror sein. Das ist...
That's our Sweet Play of the Game in 2 languages. The Sweet Play of the Game brought to you by Andy's Frozen Custard. At Andy's, they have an incredible lineup of frozen custard summer treats to beat the sizzling heat. Backed by popular demand is the crowd-pleasing key lime pie concrete. It's sweet, it's zesty. So what are you waiting for? Head to Andy's Frozen Custard now and top your day with a smile. A great call there from the German broadcast as the Chiefs get ready for their game against the Dolphins in Germany coming up later this upcoming regular season. The preseason is behind us, and that's a nice thing to know that it's real football still to come. We got a little extra time to wait before the Thursday night kickoff of the 2023 NFL season. It's been a blast so far. Continues to have a lot to offer this year, I hope, because the preseason was fun while it lasted. Lost my luster for it about halftime today. I would say late first quarter today, because that was the longest preseason game I think I've ever seen. And real football is so close that I am just ready to watch Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball to Travis Kelce, and I can't wait to see Chris Jones playing on the field next to Keandre Coburn. Something's totally going to happen. Chris Jones. We'll talk to Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest in a little bit, but it's Andy Reid time now here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB postgame show. His post-game press conference is brought to you by Champion Home Comfort. Get peak performance in your home by finding a local Champion dealer at championhomecomfort.com. And don't forget to ask about their free 10-year parts and labor warranty. Easy for me to say. I might need a warranty on me saying words correctly, but it's a free 10-year parts and labor warranty at Champion Home Comfort. Always leading, never compromising, championhomecomfort.com. We'll start from the top here with Andy Reid getting his opening statements and injuries, and then a couple of questions about what the next 72 hours will be like with some tough decisions on the horizon.
All right. Really, none of the injuries we had will hold the guys back, which is a positive thing. Leo had a hip pointer on the fumble recovery. Cole Christensen hurt his ribs. Powell and a little bit of a hamstring. Wanye Morris, a little bit of a shoulder. Cam Jones, concussion. Fudukasi had a concussion. So these are all things the guys will be able to come back from. I appreciated the fight that the guys had throughout the game. It was great to get the 2s and 3s, the work they did. Again, this helps Brett in the final evaluation, and it helps the guys, the ones that don't make the team, have an opportunity to hook on somewhere else with the tape that they put out there. So all in all, it's good to have it finished up. Good that we're relatively healthy, and we move on to a real good Lions team. With that, time's yours.
Andy, what's the next 72 hours going to be like for you guys?
Yeah, so Brett will get with his guys tomorrow morning, and then the coaches will grade the tape, get that in for the coach's final evaluation on the guys playing, and then Brett will shake it all up and come out with the best group that we think can help us here. And it's always, this is the toughest day. I mean, that's when you have to make the cuts, because these guys have busted their tail through all the OTAs and then through the training camp. So then you got, they all can't be here, unfortunately.
Every year is unique, but what's going to make this one difficult for you guys with what you've seen out there?
Yeah, I mean, there's some tough spots. Guys competing there at certain spots, and so we gotta make sure we make the right decision there.
Looks like wide receivers. One of the spots.
Yeah, potentially.
Maybe there.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, you got to look at numbers, and you have to, how many you're going to keep at each spot, and that's one of them. So you also have to include special teams. I mean, how do the guys help you on special teams? So.
It's an interesting conversation there, and I mean, it really does have to be brutal for our front office and for the coaching staff also. I mean, there are guys on this roster who, the coaching staff has known very likely weren't going to make the roster for a long time. There are guys who are, I'm sure, on the bubble fighting for that spot. There are probably guys who will be surprised tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, whenever they, so again, the cut down deadline's on Tuesday, but we'll see some news start trickling out earlier. We've already seen it from some other teams. There are going to be guys who get surprised to hear that their time in Kansas City is over. And guys that have had, by definition, have all been on the same team through the hardest month of the year, perhaps, of you're going to go and sweat through St. Joe, grind every rep you can get, make sure you're mentally ready for everything that comes with the film room, and then the test on the field again. And almost half of those guys are not going to be on the roster. You had a 90-man, 91-man with the international player exception for Godric. You got 91 players out there. 53 of them will make the active roster. The expanded practice squads is a wonderful thing because it lets teams keep more guys for developmental purposes. There are fewer restrictions now for having veterans on the practice squad. These were all adjustments that came with the COVID season. That adjustment sticking around is certainly a good thing. More jobs, more opportunities, more chances to develop. But it's going to be a hard time in every front office around the league this weekend, and the Chiefs are certainly no exception. Another interesting conversation to be had about the quarterback position. We saw Shane Buechele get the start today. It was not an ideal one for him, and then Blaine Gabbert came in and looked better against a lesser level of competition from Cleveland. How did Andy Reid evaluate the quarterback play today?
So I saw some good things. Saw a couple of things we need to work on. We had obviously too many turnovers, and they cost us points, so you can't have that for sure. But there were some good things in there too.
Dylan and Covell after the show today, let's just meet, kind of huddle up afterwards. I'm going to tell you guys, saw some good things from you today. Also some things we need to work on. If I ever say that in Andy Reid's tone, one of you is cursed on air or something. I don't know. That to me that was Andy Reid going, so remind me, how many pick sixes were there? I blacked out. And there were some nice moments. And again, I'm not sure how many of those turnovers today were actually really on the quarterback. I think most of them you could at least make an argument that you could share some blame, but it's kind of a weird day, and I don't know how much you can evaluate from that. But I do think you got to evaluate every rep you see from Rashee Rice, and he had that dropped would-be touchdown that really added to a rough day for him. Wasn't all bad, but it was hard to overlook the drops for Rashee Rice. So what did Andy Reid see evaluating the rookie wide receiver's performance?
He's got a lot of talent. He's just got to hang on to the ball. I mean, he's got good hands. You just got to focus in on it, squeeze it, and catch it first, and you can go do your thing after that. So he'll be all right. He's just got to keep working through it.
I think that's fair, by the way. I think it's accurate. Got a lot of talent, sure does. And again, it's not like this is something that where he was a drops machine in college or whatever. If it's really just a focus issue, it'll take some time before it's not weird that he's playing in NFL games, I'm sure. But eventually you can kind of get back into that headspace and be able to make sure you're catching the ball before you take off. That's a reasonable way to look at it for a very young wide receiver who just got his first 3 NFL preseason games. Does it make me a little bit gun-shy for the regular season the first couple times the ball goes to him? Absolutely. Of course. He's going to have to prove, hey, I've got it figured out. I'm going to be here. Throw me the ball in the regular season, I'm going to catch it. That's going to take a little bit of time to fully build that trust back up and to fully build it up, period. In Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes terms, the dude's been here for an hour. Training camp is huge, but very few live reps against opposing defenses, and they'll work on that. And if we're talking about it at the end of this regular season, call me. If we're talking about it mid-season, I'll want to keep it in mind. Right now, something to file away. I think Andy Reid has seen young receivers struggle with drops early in their NFL careers that didn't struggle with them in their college careers, and that seems reasonable to me. Talking about quarterbacks again here, that new 3-quarterback rule that allows you to have a third quarterback dressed but technically inactive, so you can activate them in emergency circumstances. Andy Reid was asked about that rule and how that'll impact the choices they make this weekend.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out for us. You still have to count the numbers on it, but we'll see how that goes. I think it's a good rule. It's a good rule to have, but we'll see how we utilize that.
That's also fair. Certainly a good rule. Good to have that opportunity, and then teams are going to decide over time, and it'll evolve a little bit to see how teams attack that. Also here, a few injury updates, and you'll eventually hear Andy Reid talk about LaMichael Pirine as well. But the biggest piece of news here for the regular season kickoff is Andy Reid expecting Kadarius Toney to practice this week?
Possibly. Possibly. We'll just see. Kind of taking that one day by day, but he's doing great right now. Yeah, Nick's he's actually doing okay. So didn't have to have the surgery on it, so that was a good thing. Right.
And you assess LaMichael Pirine?
Yeah, I liked what I saw. He did a nice job. Yeah, played really well. Good balance. We know he can catch well, and he seemed to see everything pretty clearly today.
That's very fair assessment there on Pirine, who I think Andy Reid is. I'll be very curious to see how that shakes out. I think he's probably seeing him as a guy who deserves a roster spot, possibly for Kadarius Toney to be back this week. I mean, Andy Reid wouldn't tell you if the answer was yes or no definitively, and nor should he. At this point, hide your bleep from the Lions or whatever. Taking it day by day is the evolution of day to day, which is a haunting phrase to me because it's so unknown, and I just don't know what direction that's pointing in. Maybe that's pointing in the direction of no, absolutely not, but you'll find out when we put him on IR on Tuesday. Maybe it'll be, he's going to play, and you'll find that out when we practice on Tuesday, or Wednesday, whenever they end up practicing. They're going to be off most of next week. It'll be kind of weird. But day by day for Kadarius Toney, and if that doesn't put a smile on your face. Last one here from Andy Reid. Isaiah Pacheco getting some live action. Tershawn Wharton getting into the game. Wondering if Andy Reid saw that being good stuff from that duo as they got back on the field with the regular season just a little bit away.
Yeah, no, it was good to get those two in the game. Didn't need to be a lot. Just let them get their adrenaline knocked off a little bit. So.
What did you think about the way that Blaine Gabbert has performed this preseason? What does he bring to that quarterback?
Yeah, Blaine's he did a nice job. Yeah, so there's good competition for that second position there, and he's part of that. Yep, did a nice job though.
All right, there you have it. Andy Reid, tired of talking about backup quarterbacks, and I mean, in fairness, so am I. It'll be good to talk about Patrick Mahomes playing quarterback again and not the guys backing him up. We'll take a timeout here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB postgame show. We'll come back and find some more things to talk about. Maybe check in with Matt Derrick from Arrowhead as well. Maybe not also, because it's a little bit of a different flow this week as the preseason finale comes and goes. The Chiefs, all importantly, victorious over the Cleveland Browns. I mean, that's what matters. You care about the numbers. Eric Bieniemy cares about the alphabets, the wins and losses, the W's and the L's. 33-20, 33-32. Missed field goal at the end. Come on. What else could you ask for? You could ask for a little fun at happy hour. You know, nobody does happy hour like Twin Peaks. Whatever your preference, they've got everything from tequila cocktails and an extensive bourbon category to top shelf spirits and cocktails served over ice balls. Local craft beers. Preseason talking performance by me today. Local craft beers and handcrafted whiskey cocktails round out an adventurous drink menu second to none. And don't forget about their 29-degree man-sized drafts at Twin Peaks. We'll take our time out here. More Sports Radio 810 WHB postgame show next.
Kansas City's favorite sports station, 20 years and counting. Sports Radio 810 WHB, Kansas City.
Hey, Kansas City, it's Jeff Briggs with Victory Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the Victory Effect. Our pledge to drive down vehicle pricing for the city we love. Guess what, KC? It's the Make This the Summer sales event, and large discounts on trucks have returned. Now, until the end of the month, Victory is offering up to $11,000 off list price on all 2023 Ram 1500 Bighorns in stock. That's right, all 2023 Ram Bighorns in stock. These trucks range from nicely equipped to fully loaded. Certain models qualify for 2.9% interest at 72 months in lieu of the factory rebate. By the way, if you're tired of the traditional way of purchasing vehicles and you want a truly transparent dealer who gives you the best deal up front and a dealer that runs the highest Facebook and Google ratings in the Midwest, look nowhere else besides Victory. Come experience true transparency and true relational selling. Visit us at Kansas City's only automotive outlet mall, the Legends Auto Plaza, on the southeast corner of 435 and Parallel, just east of Nebraska Furniture Mart, or online at victorymotorskc.com, where our first price is better than their last.
Sports Radio 810 is proud to be Kansas City's home for the National Football League.
65-yard punt return. Kadarius Toney.
From Monday night to Sunday night and every game in between. Keep it right here on your exclusive home for the NFL, the NFL playoffs, and the Super Bowl.
It's over. The Chiefs have won. The Chiefs have won Super Bowl 57.
Sports Radio 810 WHB.
This summer, we're quirking for the weekend every day. Quirk is Kansas City's favorite hard seltzer, made with real juice and more personality. Hit flavors like pineapple orange whip are available on draft and in cans at Johnny's Tavern across the metro. Visit your favorite Johnny's and scan the QR code to be entered to win an Ultimate Quirk Summer Prize Pack. No purchase necessary. Must be 21 plus. Quirk Hard Seltzer, Kansas City, Missouri. Please enjoy responsibly.
Hey, this is the Fat Jack. It is football season. Are you ready to make some money? Fire up and get signed up right now. Go to fatjacksports.com and get signed up today to add disciplined, responsible gambling, and most importantly, winning plays to your betting system. Everything is text to your cell phone or emailed to you. It's going to get you into profit. And always remember, guys, especially early, it's not the betting that she hates, it's the losing. Get signed up today and stop losing. Go to fatjacksports.com.
Hey, Chiefs Kingdom. This is Mitch Holtis, voice of the Chiefs. To stay at the top of their game, the Chiefs have trusted the University of Kansas Health System for their care. And you can trust them to care for you, too. Whether you're a pro athlete, a student athlete, or a fan who likes to stay active, the care remains the same. Because the University of Kansas Health System cares for the entire Chiefs Kingdom. To request an appointment, visit kansashealthsystem.com/Chiefs.
Coming to Azura Amphitheater August 26th. 2 headliners, one night. Turnpike Troubadours.
On a long, hot summer day.
And the Avid Brothers. Get your tickets now for Turnpike Troubadours and the Avid Brothers with the Old 97s and Caitlin Butts at Ticketmaster.com. Turnpike Troubadours and the Avid Brothers. Don't miss Turnpike Troubadours and the Avid Brothers Saturday, August 26th at Azura Amphitheater. Presented by Mammoth.
Justin Ross snares it for the touchdown.
you got to be happy for Justin Ross. Just a big physical presence like that, and what a huge advantage it gives you down in the red zone, especially. But to see him, what he's been able to overcome, and
yeah, no, it's been great, and obviously everyone knows, the fast start he had in college, and then he got sidetracked by some injuries, and last year our training staff did a great job with him of bringing him back and giving him the time he needed, and I think halfway through the OTAs, I really think you started to see it click, and he started to get that confidence, that self-belief back, and it's continuing on through training camp, so we're certainly expecting big things from Justin this year.
There you have it, the Justin Ross touchdown. Some analysis from Brett Veach as well. We're going to make that our magic play of the day. Usually it would be our magic Mahomes play of the day, but Mahomes didn't play today. So that's our magic Ross play of the day, brought to you by Westlake Hardware at Ace. They're helpful folks know you got everyday things you need to take care of around the house. But did you know they can help with your business too? Westlake Commercial, a division of Westlake Ace Hardware. Find all their locations online at westlakehardware.com. Running your business just got easier with Westlake Commercial. You name it, they can get it. That's actually perfect. I think you throw it, Ross can get it. That was a beautiful little back shoulder kind of goal line fade situation. It isn't always the highest percentage play, I'm not always about that back shoulder goal line fade. But when your receiver 6'4", and what did you learn about the cornerback in that rep, Dylan?
He may or may not have been playing in the USFL most recently.
Which, hey, look, so is Breland Speaks. And I actually don't know if he's going to make whatever roster he ended up on, but he was you got a camp, not just invite, he got a camp contract. Regardless of the level of competition, it's a great rep from Justin Ross. And that is absolutely a way that I think we could see him getting used pretty early on this season. We've talked about this with Matt. Talked about it last week. I don't know. Ooh, Teicher's tweeting out snap counts also, so I'm going to take a little peek at this. But I don't know that the Chiefs are in a position where they think they could trust Justin Ross to be a full-time receiver, for lack of a better term. I don't know if he's in a reasonable position to say, like, hey, we want you to go out there and just be running routes all day and know where to be and act and react. I don't think that's going to be his role this year. But if he's able to, obviously, big thing here, stay healthy. If he's able to stay healthy out of the gate, then you open up the opportunity to be a situational weapon. In some ways, he might have a little bit of Jody Fortson track going on, where it's this big body kind of, obviously Fortson was a hybrid kind of receiver to tight end and bulked up and obviously hurt again now, which really bums me out. But maybe you can be a situational weapon early on in the season and then be able to continue building on that with your experience over the course of a year, another training camp. Maybe that makes you into a full-time receiver a year or two down the line. We got to make sure we keep our expectations in reasonable places for rookies. Obviously, Justin Ross isn't a rookie truly at this point, but he didn't play it all last year. So if he can recreate a little bit of that now and again, then I'm really happy to see where his career can go. Just that first batch of receivers is really going to determine a lot more for the Chiefs. We may check in with Matt Derrick, but phone line just lit up. That's Tommy Moe on the line. Tommy Moe, my friend, good to hear from you.
Good to hear from you, my fellow. Can I call you my fellow COVID brother?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we've spent some time in some hospitals and got our business handled.
Yeah, we had a lot of bags hanging from our bodies and
Yes.
tubes and some and all that stuff, and we're gonna be all right, I think.
I think we are.
But who's not all right is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I don't get the infinity or the infatuation with playing him, featuring him. We're not going to get anything for him. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. We got rid of Breland Speaks after a couple of years. LaMichael Pirine, to me, I don't know, am I the only one seeing that he's more explosive, more elusive, he's quicker to the hole, and he can break tackles? Am I the only one out of the 3 million people in the metro area that see this? Or is that just I'm just seeing something that I'm not supposed to be seeing.
You've got three allies of the three people who are currently in the room here, Tommy Moe, because the explosiveness from P. Ryan around that corner was jump off the screen stuff. I was saying earlier that I think really the thing for Clyde is the Chiefs feel like they can put him into real situations early in the year as Pacheco works back and as McKinnon tries to stay healthier later into the year. I think that what they're saying is we can lean on Clyde for a little bit while everybody else sees their roles kind of evolve. But I think it is pretty clear at this point. If you were to say, hey, just one of these guys has the ball in their hands, I'd rather see P. Ryan with it. I don't think you're alone in that at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's third down. McKinnon comes on third down. If we need someone to run the ball, he was out in the pass routes. I just don't see it. Clyde was a great player at LSU. You know why? Because he had three number one first-round draft picks at wideout. So everybody played a lot of light boxes and allowed Clyde to, pick and choose his holes. He just seems, as we all talk about how small Sky Moore looks out on the field, Clyde Edwards looks small too, and it's just not there. And it's time to cut loose. Let's let LaMichael P. Ryan, what are we worried about protections? What are we worried that LaMichael P. Ryan can't do in the games 1, 2, and 3? Because without Chris Jones, guys, we're going to need as much offensive weaponry on the field as possible. We're not going to win games 21-17. We're going to win games 37-34, it looks like, here going forward until Chris Jones makes up his mind what he wants to do.
I think you're certainly right about that, Tommy Moe. Again, very, very good to hear from you. I hope I hear from you several more times post-game this year.
You will. Thanks again, Josh.
Fantastic. Good to hear from Tommy Moe. So in terms of what are the Chiefs worried they're not going to be able to see or not be able to get from P. Ryan that they could get from Clyde? Again, I said it earlier when we were I'm using a lot of the same terms for Justin Watson as I am for Clyde Edwards-Helaire at this point, where it's just this feeling of Andy Reid trusts him to be in the position that they want him to be in. I think it's pretty evident with Clyde. He's not going to, if you give him lemons, he will make lemon juice. This is my new analogy. I have just thought of it. This is where we're at. He's not going to take lemons and make lemonade. And if you give him chicken bleep, he's not going to make chicken salad, but he also isn't making chicken bleep. It's just, you give him lemons, he's going to squeeze some juice out of them. The exact amount you would expect. But I think having some stability for someone who has been in that room for a long time, and again, P. Ryan was in the running back room through the playoff run last year, which meant that, his whatever involvement he had throughout the offseason, he knew this is where he was going to be starting next season. I think he ended up signing a futures deal, so that was never really like a question. I have no idea how much work he was able to, do with the Chiefs in that period of time. But my hunch, and not necessarily the argument I'm making, to be fair, I would probably join in on the argument about Justin Watson and say, look, it is valuable to have somebody who can run from every position, who can be in any spot, who isn't going to be super open, but will demand defenses cover him. All right, I hear you. I get it. But for Clyde at this point, I don't think it's a sunk cost fallacy thing. I don't think it's, he was a first-round pick. I also don't think they're going to get anything for him in a trade. But my hunch at this point, again, without it being my very specific, actual personal take, my hunch at this point is that the Chiefs want to have a guy who has heard every play call, who has been in every huddle, who has been on the receiving end of some big moments from Patrick Mahomes, and that they're going to value that. I also think that Deneric Prince is probably on the practice squad. P. Ryan might be sneakable to the practice squad. I think it was Matt Derrick who made the point that, look, teams are always going to overvalue their own running backs a little bit because they're the guy they have, and as we've talked about many times, moving parts there is a relatively easy thing to do. Swapping out cogs in the running back machine, it's part of the reason that running backs can be hard to evaluate and hard to separate because the situation is so impactful. I don't think that there's any big burst coming back for Clyde, but I do think the Chiefs would see some value in just having a guy in the rotation who's been there before. In addition to Pacheco and McKinnon, obviously, but for that third running back, I think that could be a little bit of the split. It's an interesting conversation, though, and I'm glad to be having it. I'll be much more glad to be having it as cut downs come, as we eventually, yes, after Chiefs-Lions, we can have a post-game show about a game that matters. Also want to say thanks to J. Wolf Acura dealers. Acura brings you a new action-packed Summer of Performance feature, the Acura Summer of Performance event going on now. Visit J. Wolf Acura and J. Wolf Acura of Overland Park or shop online at go.jwolfacura.com. Another big shout out to Dylan Michaels and Covell Hudson for all the effort throughout the course of this preseason. I'm Joshua Briscoe. All three of us will be back for more Chiefs post-game action on the Sports Radio 810 WHB post-game show right after Chiefs and Lions. We'll talk to you 10 a.m. on Monday in the Zone. Until then, bye, Mom.